Bill Ackman compared his amassing his stake in Allergan in stealth ahead of Valeant's bid to your purchase of Coca-Cola in the 1980s. Is that right? What do you make of the larger trend of activism in corporate America?
I hadn't heard that about Coca-Cola. I'm really not sure how that would come about. I mean, we bought stock in the open market. We never used a derivative transaction or any sort in buying it or anything. I mean, and we certainly haven't taken it over yet. So I'm not sure. Can you elaborate on it, Andrew?
I will adjust the question. There have been times in the past when you have bought stakes in other companies and used specific rules through the SEC to do so to give you some room without disclosing. Maybe will that adjust the question? Or you could just go to the activism question.
Yeah, and tell me the activism question again, because we have never used derivatives or anything that would get us around the rules of reporting. I mean, it's that simple. But what's the second part?
I think that the second part is, what do you make of the larger trend of activism in corporate America?
Well, I don't think it'll go away, and I think it scares the hell out of a lot of managers. There are cases, certainly cases where corporate management should be changed. I mean, you can't have thousands of corporations without that being the case. I think, generally speaking, that the activists, if they get the price of the stock up one way or another, that's going to end their interest in the business. So I don't think they're looking for. Often they're not looking for permanent changes for the better in the business, but they're looking for a specific event that will result in a big price change. And they're certainly attracting more and more money. In other words, the funds flowing to activist hedge funds and so on is multiplied, I'm sure, by a significant factor. And that means they can play the game on a bigger scale. And anything in Wall Street that looks like it's successful will generate a funds flow that will go on until it's no longer successful. Charlie?
Well, you're right that the activism is causing more of a stir in corporate management than anything has in years. Practically nobody feels immune. When an activist comes into a company, 20 or 30% of the stock can change hands rather rapidly, and a management that seemed entrenched suddenly is threatened. And of course that sort of thing causes a lot of anguish. And on the other side, the activists, by and large, are making a fair amount of money. And of course, in the culture we live in, most people don't care how the money is earned. They just care whether they get it or not. And so that just grows like the beanstalk of Jack. And so I think we have a very significant effect. And some of the stuff, you'll find an activist who is not what you'd want to marry into the family, going after a company you would never buy into. And when that happens, it reminds me of Oscar Wilde's definition of fox hunting. He said, the pursuit of the uneatable by the unspeakable. And I think we're seeing some of that. I don't think it's good for America what's happening.
Where do you think
averaged out?
Where do you think it'll be 3 years from now?
Bigger.
Wow.
Well, what's stopping it?
Now, if it's bigger 3 years from now, it'll be a lot bigger. I mean, just the compounding of numbers.